Hey guys, Mike here. So another loaded week ahead with a bunch of high beta earnings. Very important data. There's not a lot of it, but it's very important data, and it will absolutely make the bond market move, and the stock market is going to react off of it. You can bet. We're going to go over in this video a pattern that is starting to play out once again. Can it be the third time? Is it really that easy? Some news or something's going to happen tomorrow that could cause the market to gap down along with this pattern, which we'll point out. Might have saw the sell-off on Friday. I'll show you what caused that. We'll definitely go ahead and upload the data here and just catch you up on what happened Friday, because I like to do that. And then I'll also talk about two earnings plays to watch out for that could explode just like Affirm did. So we'll talk about those. And please let me know in the comments who you got for the Super Bowl tonight, if you're watching, and what do you think the score is going to be. I'll be heading over right after this to go to a neighbor's party they're having, and we'll have fun because they're Kansas City fans, so congratulations to them. And we'll be rooting for Kansas City because that's who they're rooting for. So anyway, if we get into the data here real quick, we had non-farm payrolls come out before the bell. It came in less than expected, which was kind of interesting, because then you roll out more data, you end up with average hourly earnings coming in higher than expected, much higher than expected. And you can see where it's at now currently and what norm was. We're still well above norm by over a full % right now. And then you go over here and look at the unemployment rate. Wow, it dropped 4%. That seems low. But even if you look back between like 2015 on down, actually like 2017 on down, we were below 4% for like 2.5 years before we hit 2020. Okay, so yeah, 4% is low, but again, we were already below that before we even hit the pandemic. Hours worked fell 34.1. You can see to the left what was norm, usually 34.4 to 34.6. We're at 34.1 and continuing to drop because a lot of jobs that are being created are part-time jobs, not full-time jobs. That way you don't have to pay your butt any kind of perks like insurance and things like that. So it works out well for the company. Now, looking over here, this is what they said dropped the market. That's actually totally not true. But it's like the preliminary University of Michigan consumer sentiment came out, and you can see this big spike in what people think inflation is going to be just over like the next year versus 5 to 10 years. So huge spike up. And like, that's what dropped us. No, it's not. What dropped us was we hit, I believe it was 6,100 on the penny, and then proceeded to sell off because of something also Trump came out with once again, which we'll talk about in the chart. Now, lastly here, looking at household borrowing, you can see a record month, huge spike. You know, should it be any surprise? No, this is what we do. A lot of people say, oh man, this is it. Oh boy, we're just borrowing. That's what we always do, right? I mean, my God, we have a record debt from the government. We have record debt from citizens. So, you know, take it for what it's worth. But yes, huge spike. I'm not surprised. You know, please tell me you're not either. But we look at the SPY chart, you can see clearly a pattern here, right? We run up into Friday. Trump tweets about tariffs. Boom, we dump. And then on Monday, we dump even more because something else comes out over the weekend. Friday, he tweets about tariffs. Boom, we dump. We gap down on Monday. And look what happened. He tweets about tariffs, or something comes out of his administration. Boom, we get a sell-off. So are we going to get a dump down is the question coming on Monday. And the two reasons it can happen, because you're seeing a pattern, but also this right here is going around on Twitter, but this is already announced. So tomorrow is when the Chinese retaliatory tariffs is supposed to take place, but they were already announced on February 4th. So we'll see what the market's going to do on that. So just keep those two things in mind. Now we did mark out what? Marked out this discount range below on, I believe it was Thursday night's video. I said, let's see if we come down here because that's a nice gap down. Again, we broke that dark pool level. Rejected right on that descending trend line and came down, and that's where we stalled out, was within that 4-hour fair value gap I talked about, right there around the golden pocket. That don't mean we ain't going lower. I was just saying, you know, it'd be nice because we're in this high premium right now. The market usually likes to sell down into a discount before going higher. So you're at that moment where we don't know what the future is going to do right now. We don't know if the Chinese tariffs actually kicking in, if they are going to kick in, are going to send the market gapping down again for the third straight Monday or not. 3 times does make a pattern, so we'll have to see on that. But you know, and also, if thanks to what's going to happen if they come out and say, oh, the Chinese president and President Trump are going to talk and they're going to postpone those tariffs. You think the market's going to be happy about that? Absolutely, they're going to be happy about that. So just watch that one. The Qs, again, this one's still squeezing. That trend line got rejected again. So what is that, the 5th time now? So you're still seeing higher lows, lower highs. So it's just squeezing in here. Again, this one right here, we marked out this discount range right here, as you can see. And that's where it came down to and stopped for now. Okay, again, I can't predict a gap down or anything, okay? So just keep that in mind. And so this one's different than the SPY. The SPY is setting lower highs and lower lows. The Qs are setting higher lows and lower highs. Okay, a little bit of a difference going on there. Now, looking at IWM, you can see that level right there. Once again, I mean, is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rejections? Boy, that 230, 231 area is still a beast right there. And so again, it ended up bouncing off the descending trend line, came down into the daily fair value gap. And so this will be one to see if we can get a bounce here, but it was just hanging. And basically, you know, this range of whatever you want to say, the most time it's, you know, 220 to 230 seems to be the range. And then you're hanging out around 225, 230 as well. So if we get the bounce back up, you know, that's going to depend on what? CPI data. If CPI data comes in hot this week, and the 10-year yield spikes, well, sale of the IWM. That's what should happen. And Friday was weird because we were like, wow, you know, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that this one was up, and also the 10-year was up over %. I thought, that's really weird. And then, of course, it ended up coming down to earth. So no surprise on that one, especially once all the tariff talk started coming out and stuff. So we'll see if it comes down and hits this trend line again between at 224, 225 and gets a bounce, or we get a bounce off the trend line, the 100 moving average is at now. But again, just mark out 230, 14, 230, 50, that area right there. Still can't get above it. Now, as far as this Wyckoff distribution phase, or this pattern you're seeing right here, you're seeing it playing on a couple of the mega caps. It's also playing on other stocks as well, but really it's the mega caps that matter. And again, you go through accumulation, then you got these big run-ups, and then you just go through a distribution phase. Doesn't mean the market, doesn't mean it's going to crash. Doesn't mean they're there. It's just a part where, you know, the market starts to sell it down after it accumulates up there, and it turns into distribution and starts selling down, starts struggling. And when you look at something like Microsoft, for example, I mean, just look at this thing. It almost looks identical to this right here. So yeah, see that peak right there? We come back over. See that peak right there? Come down. And again, this gets very, you know, technical. I'm not going there with you. See that peak? Is that peak right there? You know, and then coming down. And so if we're here, are we fitting to see this? Is that what we're fixing to see? That's what we got to watch out for on Microsoft, right? And so keep that in mind. That obviously would not be good for the market because it's a heavily weighted stock, but it's been struggling. So it makes sense. That's why it's in this pattern. You go back to this right here, and we come over and start looking at something like an NVIDIA. You know, you're kind of seeing something similar. It's not as clean, and this might have finally got it sell down. Maybe that is the final sell down, the peak down to go down here, and so maybe that's what's happening to NVIDIA, right? And maybe it's going to finally start to come back up. You can see it held the descending trend line. It's starting to enter that gap down from the deep seek thing. And so if it can hold, which is the problem, is holding, if it can hold that 130 area right there and start to build out some structure, you know, because you look on the 2 hour right there, I mean, that's not a whole lot of structure building out. It's just kind of just limping its way up right here. But again, if you can get in there and all of a sudden the options market goes from Palantir to go back to NVIDIA, you can start to see a move. Again, you got to hold, I'd say like 124 is really where you want to hold right there to see this happen. But what do we know? Tesla and NVIDIA don't move at the same time. And Tesla, you can see it's in this falling wedge pattern. It's setting to that key level right there, 0.79 fib, around that 360-ish area right there we talked about. That's where it's holding right now. And are we going to get a bounce back up to the top of this falling wedge? That's really the big key right here. And you really need to see like 370, 372 to really start to see this thing starting to move back up there. Now, is it going to break out above that? That's what we got to see. Right now, that's what I'm seeing on it. Again, there's a lot of stocks that are just sucking up all the air, and Tesla keeps getting bad news coming out of China. The tariffs aren't good. Those tariffs kicking in aren't going to be good. And so, you know, it's just one of those things. Now, gravity started to take effect because the Trump phenomenon wore off on the stock, especially once they reported earnings and people realized, oh my God, like they really are messed up on these numbers. They really do have bad numbers, and this is all about, hey, can we sell robots and stuff? And can we get the autonomous taxi thing going, right? Now, a couple earnings plays to watch. Roku, watch this right here, you know, building out this Mohawk pattern, and it's got earnings reporting. So again, higher lows, keeps bouncing up against that level right there, and it's hard to believe this stock was almost a $500 stock at one point in time. Wow, how gravity is taking effect, right? So if this one breaks out, obviously you're talking about, 110 is definitely going to be on the card, 99, then 110. Kind of like basically like an Affirm. When I showed you that one, right? If it has it, then it's going to explode. If not, it's going to get punished dearly. SMCI is going to be another one. They're reporting on Tuesday, I believe. Been moving out, breaking out this pattern right here. If they say anything about, yes, we're good to go, our audit's fine, we're going to go ahead and meet the deadline as far as getting our 10Q and all that fun stuff in, then this one can absolutely explode for sure. It's been doing really well every day, like 5% a day it seems like. But you're talking like 57 to 60 back on the table if that happens on earnings. So keep that one in mind for SMCI. Now speaking of earnings, a lot of different earnings coming out this week. Gonna end up with McDonald's before the bell. I don't see anything afterwards really to worry about. And then you're gonna have Shopify, another high flyer, Coca-Cola, Humana, BP. Then we'll come in the afternoon, Super Micro. We talked about Upstart's another big one. DoorDash, Lyft. Upstart will have something like an Affirm type of move, depending on which way they go. CVS Health you can look at if you want to. In the afternoon, Robinhood, which has been doing really well on its chart. Cisco down at the bottom. Trade Desk, another one to look at. And then on Thursday there, you'll have Datadog, John Deere, Crocs, another one, Duke Energy. We know energy stocks have been doing really well. And then in the afternoon, you'll end up with Coinbase, Twilio, DraftKings, Applied Materials, Airbnb, Palo Alto, there's Roku, Wynn. So just loaded on that one. And then Moderna on Friday, and I don't really see anything else to worry about on that one. Now, when it comes to the data, it's not going to be a lot of it, but the data is extremely important. So Monday, I wouldn't worry about anything going on. Tuesday, not much going on. But then Wednesday, core CPI, CPI month-over-month headline, CPI year-over-year, crude oil inventories, 10-year bond auction. That'll be a fun one to see. And then on Thursday, core PPI, PPI month-over-month, unemployment claims, 30-year bond action, which honestly has not been a problem to worry about. And then on Friday, end up with core retail sales month-over-month, and then retail sales headline month-over-month. So, again, not a lot of data, but it's really important data, and it's going to move the bond market. So we got to watch the bond market. We got to see how the market's going to react off that. We got to see if there's going to be any more tariff talk coming out and all that fun stuff. So just buckle up, and I'm going to go enjoy the Super Bowl at my neighbor's party they're having. Hope you do the same. Please hit the like, subscribe button on your way out. Think about signing up for the membership. Less than McDonald's combo, that's everything you get with it. And I will see you guys tomorrow.